I wanted to share our topic. It's the MS Mental Wellness Chat, and today we're going to talk about building your psychological resilience with MS. But before we get started, I wanted to thank our sponsors. And our sponsors are Biogen, they are Bristol Myers Squibb, Novartis, Janssen, a Johnson & Johnson pharmaceutical company, EMD Serono. Thank you so much to our sponsors for helping us to be able to bring this program to you this evening. And then also thank you to MS Views and News, because without MS Views and News, this program would not be possible and not here. So we are going to talk about a good amount of things today. And before we get started, I just wanted to introduce myself. If you don't know me, I'm Jessica Thomas, and I am a licensed clinical social worker. And I specialize in helping people live well with the emotional part of MS. And I've been doing that for a good amount of time. I also am someone who's been living with MS. I was diagnosed with MS about 16 years ago, sorry. And I've been working with people living with MS for about 15 of those years. And so we're going to talk a little bit about what we're going to discuss this evening. We're going to work on building your psychological resilience with MS. I'm going to share a couple of tools that you may feel inspired to use to help if you're managing some challenges. And we are going to also practice some cognitive reframing and cognitive behavioral therapy approaches. And we're going to talk a little bit about stress, because we know stress and MS do not get along. And I know that this period of time has a lot of stress in it. So before we get started, I always like to just say, that this is not a counseling session. This is a MS mental wellness chat. So we're connecting some, but it's not an actual counseling session. And this program is going to be recorded. MS Views and News has an incredible YouTube channel. And so if I share something and you haven't been able to write all the information down, or you feel like you've missed something, just check their YouTube channel in about a week, because the video will be posted. And the last thing is, if you're new to the mental wellness chat, we use the question box. Unfortunately, you cannot see what everybody else puts in there, but I can see it. So I will use that to ask questions and help to connect us with some things. So we're going to go ahead and use the chat box. So I am going to ask you 3 questions. You don't have to answer all 3 of them. My only ask is that if you don't want me to read something out loud, that you don't put it in the box, or you just say, please don't share. So that way I will know that that is in confidence. So I would like to know, where are you from? How are you doing this evening? And are you new to the MS Mental Wellness Chat? We've been doing this for a good while now, well over half of a year, and I have been able to see a lot of people come back and join in that have been here since the very beginning, and so it's been really cool to see. So we have Maddie from from North Carolina. We have Cheryl from Texas, Michael from Maryland, James from California. He's feeling okay, and he is new today, so welcome, James. We have Cheryl. She's feeling all right. Jill is from Florida, South Florida. Cheryl is not feeling well today. Barb is from Wisconsin. Your football team is doing good, I think. Tammy from Tennessee, she's doing good. And then Boylan is from Louisiana, is doing so-so. Michael from Baltimore is doing fine. We have Krista from Canada. Welcome, Krista. And we have Jill is isolating from COVID. I'm sure some of us on this call are doing the same. Dion is from New Jersey, Bridget from Tampa, Krista is new. So Krista, welcome to the Mental Wellness Chat. I hope that you enjoy it today. Patricia is from Florida, I believe. No, sorry, from Oregon. And she's been on many of the virtual conference calls. And then Dion is new to the call as well, so welcome. I'm so glad that we've got a lot of new people here. Sharon from New Jersey. Maddie is not new, he's okay, but he loves these talks. And then Krista's doing so-so. And then Bridget says, go Buccaneers. So we got some football fans here too. Okay, good. So we have a really good sense of, one, we have a lot of people on the call from a lot of different places, but we also have a good sense how to use the question box. So tonight I'm going to ask a couple of questions, and I hope that you're willing to be engaged and to participate in this way, because this is a way that we can connect. And so we're going to get started with our program. And I want you to feel free, if you have questions, that you can feel comfortable asking them. It doesn't mean that I will get to the question right away, but I absolutely will make sure that I review to see if I've missed any questions before the program's over. And then we have Mary from North Carolina. Hi, Mary. I'm so glad you're here. Okay, so we're getting started. We're going to talk about making space for all emotions. And as you can see on this chart here, there's a lot of different emotions. They're kind of sub-categorized. Like, for instance, sadness has grief and sorrow. Anger has rage. Joy has cheerfulness. Delight. Fear has terror. Probably would have anxiety or panic. So we're going to talk a little bit about how emotions can be good for us, and then also that emotions are not necessarily bad. Sometimes they feel bad, but emotions are all good for us. So every emotion has its own purpose and its place. You can turn to the next slide, please. So emotions can, they can really motivate us to act. For example, if you're preparing for your MS specialist visit and you're feeling a little bit nervous, or you're feeling a little bit anxious about the visit, then you might actually be motivated to write questions down before your appointment. Or if you're nervous about a test, it might motivate you to study. So emotions can motivate us to act in a certain way. If we're fearful about something, we might be a little bit safer. I could definitely say, for many people that, our emotions and concerns about COVID has motivated a lot of us to be careful and to wear a mask and etc. Emotions can help us to avoid danger, and they help us make decisions. Emotions help us understand ourselves better and each other. So emotions can be good. Now, the difference is that while we can say that some emotions are good and some are bad, but they actually have a place in the spectrum for everything. The goal is really to experience a lower level of the emotions that cause distress. And if you think about it, the range of what we would consider positive emotions versus the negative emotions, they really help us to develop flexibility and resilience. And so there are some good things about our emotions, but how we handle these emotions is really important, because they can cause feelings that make us to be reactive. And how also that we handle these emotions also matters in terms of how we're resilient or not. So just to give you another tip is, emotions help us grow, and to think about that. So next time you are experiencing an emotion that you don't like, remember that it's teaching you something, or it is you are getting something valuable, or learning, or you're adjusting because of that emotion. So emotions all have a place. we're going to talk a little bit about positive psychology or psychological tools. And we're going to talk a little bit about happiness and joy. I think that this is a really important thing. So this is coming from more the model of like positive psychology. But I'd like for you to think of happiness or joy as something that's not a reward. It's not if we do this, we're going to be happy. Like if I lose 10 pounds, which I probably need to with COVID and the weight that I maybe put on being at home a little bit more, if I lose 10 pounds, then I'll be happy. Happiness shouldn't be a reward. Or if I get to be able to have, I'm trying to think of another example. If I get feeling back in my leg, then I'm going to be happy. It's happiness is not a reward, and we're going to look at trying to find happiness within the whole spectrum. Of course, if you get feeling, and I've had an MS exacerbation in my life where I have lost feeling in my leg for a whole summer. And so I can understand the idea when I got feeling back that I felt a great sense of gratitude. But I want to consider that happiness is not a reward. It's developed from shifting our thoughts, our perspectives, and our actions. Happiness or joy is something that we're capable of all accessing. It just might be hard to find at times, but it's possible. And it's also a feeling that's very personal and subjective. So to what one person's happiness might be, the other person may have a very different view of that. And it's a choice and a journey, not a pursuit or a destination. It is really important to know that we can achieve and we can find happiness in every day. And so one of the tools that we're going to share, or I'm going to share, is on increasing positive emotions. So with positive emotions, if you are able to, actually, I'm going to go back real quick. Can you go back to the other slide really quick for me? Okay. So the last thing I wanted to mention on happiness, and I just came to me, is that happiness is an acceptance of life that can be challenging, painful, and stressful. And the acknowledgement of the light that exists in between the darkest of times. And so I think that's a really great way to view happiness too, that it is something that is in the middle and in between all of those things. And having MS sometimes encompasses all of those things. It's hard and it can be difficult. It also can have light there too. So we'll move back over. I just didn't want to forget to say that. So there's a significant amount of research that links positive feelings, positive emotions with overall feeling better and having a better quality of life. So positive emotions really serve to help us to be able to approach things much differently. And maintaining a positive outlook can really help counteract the psychological effects of negative emotions. And it also can help with adaptive coping and building social resources and increase just your overall sense of well-being. So there's 4 positive emotions here on this slide. One is hope. And hope has a strong correlation with effort and self-regulation. So if you can find yourself in a situation where you remember that you have felt hopeful about something, chances are at that time that you were able to have, you showed effort in what you were doing. Enjoyment has a strong correlation with interest and determination. And happiness and joy has been shown to correlate with problem solving and creativity. I know that when I am happy or I'm feeling happier, that I am able to solve so many more problems than when I'm feeling stressed or flustered. And then calm has a really positive impact on our immune system. So one of the things I like to encourage people to do is to look at, if we can go back to that slide real quick, is to look at those positive emotions and kind of think, what can I do? What do I have control of in my life that can connect me to some of these positive emotions? Because when I'm connecting to them, I have a better sense of, when I'm connecting to the idea of hope, then I'm feeling a lot better. You know, I'm going to put more effort into what I'm doing. If I'm feeling a little bit more happier, I might be able to access and, feeling more creative. Now, I know that we have had some artists on the MS Mental Wellness Chat, and I know from working with some of the artists in counseling that sometimes creativity can come from a darker place too. But in general, the creativity can foster in happiness as well. So we'll move on to the next slide. And I want to bring us back to this chat box because it's important to me. What is a way that you increase a positive emotion? And Maria, you are on it. You've already responded. Maria does yoga, breathing, and prayer. I can tell you something that I do. I put music on. Music for me is a really quick changer, a game changer for me, and it can connect me to positive emotions. Also, doing something nice for somebody else, that can very much connect me to a positive emotion. Becky said that, I'm going to pull it where I can see it, that she created a thankful list as she thinks of things. And we're going to talk about that a little bit. So Becky, I'm so glad that you brought that up because that is a wonderful thing that you do. Bridget works out. Terry plays with her granddaughter. Dion bakes. Maria dances and sings. Mary does daily devotionals. And then Michael talks to his kids. Bridget does some mentoring. Rhonda, music, prayer, and I'm guessing interactions with friends. Tammy likes to look at the shapes in the clouds. I love to do that in the summertime. So there are, and then Dion says connect with others. And then Krista has a great one too. She takes a walk in the forest. That is perfect. So these are a great list of things that you guys do to help create and connect to positive emotions. And I hope that you are feeling inspired by hearing what some of the other people do. And then Nahora says, watching Golden Girls. That is a wonderful thing. Watching a good show, something that's comforting, funny, etc., can connect you to positive emotions. So we're going to move on to our next slide here. And we're going to talk about practicing gratitude. And this is something that Becky mentioned here just a minute or so ago. But practicing gratitude is one of the most resilient things that you can do. And the reason why is that when you're noticing the good things, you are being flooded with positivity. And if you are focusing on the good things, then it helps you to kind of rewire the way you look at things. There is research that says that people that practice gratitude are much happier. I've also have read something recently that people that practice gratitude at night tend to sleep a little bit better. Definitely people that can practice gratitude also tend to be able to handle challenges a little bit better because they start to look at things a little bit differently. They're hunting the good. They're looking for the good that's around them as well. And the more that you can do this, the more that you can practice gratitude, it becomes a habit. And if you were on the last MS Mental Wellness Chat, I talked a little bit about depression. And depression could be like a spiral of habits, bad habits that form, not because the depression doesn't become because of the habits, but because of depression, you tend to form bad habits. And I talked a little bit about spiraling up, small things that you could do that could help spiral you up, because that is just as helpful as and as easy as the things that you do sometimes that spiral you down. And so practicing gratitude is absolutely one of the things that I encourage for helping to spiral up. And so I hope that, that as I'm talking about gratitude, that many of you have practice with practicing gratitude. But there's also some other ways that you can practice gratitude that I will share. So this one exercise I saw, it said take a gratitude shower. And so it doesn't mean literally get in the shower, but what it means is that you sit down and you think about all the, you close your eyes and you think about all the good things that are happening in your life. And thinking about those things kind of raining down on you. Just kind of writing down or just thinking about whatever comes first. It may be that you're thankful for your family and your friends. Then it may be that you're thankful that you have that you have a stable income, or you're thankful that you have a church that you belong to, or that you're thankful for some of the events like tonight that you get to attend. But what you do is you keep kind of allowing yourself to acknowledge all the things that you're grateful for. You may find that you're grateful for your iPhone because it allows you to look at pictures from the past, or also like look at YouTube and funny videos or cute videos of puppies and kittens or whatever. You may find that you're thankful for books or audiobooks. But the idea is that you just sort of allow yourself to shower or to have an overflow of all the things that you're grateful for and writing it down. Now, I don't necessarily do this practice, but in that way. But one of the things that I do for gratitude is I write down a couple of things that I'm grateful for every day. And I've started doing something a little bit different as well. Whenever I'm texting a friend, and I'm a more small friend group, but whenever I'm texting a friend in the evening, I might ask them, what are you grateful for today? And I'll tell them what I'm grateful for. And so I've started during COVID, actually here in the last couple weeks, integrating this into conversation, because it's been really helpful. Because when we share what we're grateful for, it's something that helps someone else. And at the same time, when we ask them what they're grateful for, it gives them an opportunity to kind of think with those eyes of gratitude, or that they are able to kind of reflect back and think of some of the good things that happened during the day. And so I encourage you, depending on who you talk with and connect with, but it's okay to say, today I'm grateful for this. What are you grateful for today? It makes a really good conversation. And so the next slide that we are going to, actually, you know what? But we're going to leave this slide here, but we're going to go to the chat box. This is a good time to share. What is something that you are grateful for today? And I will get us started. So I am thankful for, I have a book, and I have been loving it. It's a daily meditation book, and it's for, it's called Thriving as an Empath. And I've loved the daily meditations and just the statements that come out of the book. I've really have been connected to it. I love today's, because today's was talking about saying no and setting boundaries, which I thought was incredible. So Mary is thankful for having peace. Becky is thankful for a heating blanket. Krista is thankful her house is warm. We have had a lot of snow in North Carolina, which is a weird thing, so I can understand a warm house. Patty is thankful for these conferences. And just for being, I'm so thankful that you're thankful for these conferences as well, and Zoom, and how it connects us, even though it would be great to be together. And then Dion is thankful for taking a walk outdoors today. That is lovely. Maddie is thankful for music and community. Rhonda is thankful for lunch out with a friend. Tammy is thankful for the snow and that it melted and she got to see her therapist. Tammy, I'm so thankful. I remember when you were looking for a therapist, so I am so thankful that you got to get out and you got to see your therapist. And then Bridget is thankful for work. And then Maddie did an open mic last night and it went great. And then Sharon is from New Jersey is thankful for less pain. So I'm so glad. Thank you for sharing the things that you're thankful for and that you're grateful for. This is important because it's inspiring to other people. And then at the same time, it's good for you to remember the things that you're grateful for. Now, the next thing we're going to talk about is being curious. And Mary Lou, real quick, she said she is thankful for having a great support system. That's an awesome thing. So being curious. This is a really important concept. And I talk about this with clients that I work with. And I think it's something that could be very helpful in terms of purpose and passion. That being curious is really good for us. It's important to explore things that make us happy, to learn things that's good for cognition. And so I'm going to encourage you as a positive psychological tool is to find things that you're curious about, that you want to learn about. And this probably is a really helpful thing for you during COVID. To find something that you can research, that you can learn, something that you're interested in, and become curious about it. See if you can participate in a way where, as you're learning, it doesn't feel stressful, that it's enjoyable, and that you might have some fun doing it. We're going to go back to the chat box real quick. And I wanted to ask, well, what is something that you're curious about? And I'll give you an example for me. And so something I'm curious about is that I have a ukulele and I don't play it very well. So I'm very curious sometimes about playing it. And so in learning more, learning how to do that. And then I'm also very curious about how to crochet, because while I can do a lot of arts and crafts, crocheting is one I've never really practiced or tried. So I would like to learn how to crochet. And so knowing that, that could be something that that I could utilize as a hobby, if that makes sense, or something to move forward with. So let's see. So we have a couple more gratitudes. Patty is thankful for the Lord for guiding her through a journey she didn't understand. And we have some questions that I'll try to get to later or guide you on where you could get them answered. Maddie is always curious about his mental health and learning ways that he can work and feel better. Tammy is always interested in or curious in her genealogy. That's a really cool hobby. And then Dion is thankful for the virtual book club that exposes her to new authors and new subject matters. Then Bridget asked about what the name of the book and author that I mentioned. I will just, it's called Thriving as an Empath. And that is just a daily meditation book and devotional. And then Rhonda is curious about how to cook with an Instapot. Oh, goodness. So if you get this and figure this out, Rhonda, please keep us posted for next month, because I would love to learn more about that, too. And then Mary says, learning how to make Cricut projects. So I would love to learn how to do that, too. And then Mary Lou is curious about learning sign language. Good. So thank you for all for participating in that, right? It's important to be curious, and sometimes we can not really think about or focus on the things that we want to learn about, that we want to explore. But a part of good mental health is having balance. and being curious and learning and exploring. So if you put something here on this list today, I hope that next week, or later this week even, or over the weekend, that you start to do some research and learn a little bit more about the topic. And so we're going to move on to our next slide. And it's talking a little bit about flow. And so flow is something very much related to what I was just talking about. But flow is when you're totally absorbed in doing something that's interesting and challenging. When you're doing something that you fully love to do, it lowers your stress, and it shifts you away from thoughts or feelings that upset you. And you will know if you were ever doing something in the state of flow, because you will know that you were fully absorbed in it. It was hard to probably break away from it. And you were kind of in the zone. Now, finding flow can be a little bit challenging sometimes. And so I wanted to give these tips. And what things, activities are meaningful that you enjoy, what things you enjoy, that you get a lot of satisfaction out of doing them. What things can you do where you sort of lose track of time? And what things have you done where you really felt like you lost all worries and everything and you were able to really just enjoy? I know for many people, it can vary from attending, musicals or going to a show. For some people, it's making music. For some people, it's doing arts and crafts. For some people, it might be playing a sport or training for an activity like a 5K. It really can be very different from person to person. Tammy here says cleaning and organizing. Actually, I know a couple people that they can get into flow doing that. Unfortunately, I cannot. So I wish I could. Maria says dancing. Absolutely, people can get into that state of flow dancing, and they're definitely hobbies and interests that other people have. Terry said movies. Maria said her MS support group. Mary doing online jigsaw puzzles. Terry said reading and listening to audiobooks, and Rhonda said playing card or board games, and then Sandy said listening to music. So there you go. There are some really good examples here of things that people do that can get them into a flow. And if they are things that you've connected with that you think, you know what, I like those activities, maybe you should try to engage in them a little bit more, because getting into that state of flow is absolutely helpful for your mental health, and for when there's a lot going on in the world. It's really good to have things that you can kind of hone in and kind of have a stress-free experience, so to say. So we're going to move on to our next slide. And we're going to talk a little bit about challenging and reframing unhelpful thoughts. Now, I'm not even going to ask a chat box question on this because I know this as a therapist, and I know this as a human, is that it can be very common to have unhelpful thoughts that come into our minds sometimes. And one of the most powerful things we can do is for building resilience is really to look at how we can reframe things that feel negative or feel unhelpful. Now, I don't mean that we have to make everything a positive. Sometimes we have things that are negative and they just have to sit with us because it's a hard time. It's a difficult thing. But the unhelpful thoughts that can come along with them sometimes, if we can learn to reframe them And so cognitive reframing, it's a technique where you're learning to kind of shift your mindset. And so you're going to be able to look at things, a situation, a person, a relationship with a different perspective. And cognitive reframing is an incredible skill to know. We'll talk a little bit more about it. So we're going to talk about how do we identify unhelpful thoughts. So there's different kinds of thinking. Unhelpful thoughts can fall into the category of cognitive distortions. And there's actually a really big list of cognitive distortions, but I just picked a couple. One is black and white thinking. Or another way to look at it is that you're only looking at it, it's either, yes or no, black or white, right or wrong. And a lot of unhelpful thoughts fall into that category. Like, I'm trying to think of a good example. Like, if I don't get milk at the grocery store, I'm not going to find it anywhere. That's kind of black and white thinking. Unrealistic expectations. I'm sure we all have been there before, where we had expectations that things were going to be overly great and they ended up disappointing us, or that we were thinking that they were going to be overtly bad, and then we were surprised. Selective attention, or disqualifying the positive, or predicting the future. I'm sure all of us, including myself, are subject to having unhelpful thoughts during our journey through life, and especially during some of the stressors that we experience. So we're going to talk about some tools that can give us some cognitive and psychological resilience. So in cognitive behavioral therapy, we are looking at really changing our mindset, which is going to change our behaviors and our thought patterns. Let's see real quick. Okay. So the first step is to change the nature of our self-talk. And so self-talk is the internal monologue, the story we tell ourselves. And in order to build resilience or psychological resilience, we need to eliminate some of the negative self-talk, such as I can't do this, or I can't handle this, and replace it with positive self-talk, such as I can do this, or I can try this, or I can handle this. Now, this small change in thought patterns can help us to reduce psychological stress when you're faced with a challenge. So the idea that if we can change the way that we are talking to ourselves, we can actually approach things much differently. And so we're not going to do our chat box. So we're going to go down to the next slide that says challenging unhelpful thoughts. So these are some questions here that I think are good questions to ask to challenge some of your unhelpful thoughts. Like, for example, what is a more helpful thought? What is another possibility? What would someone who cares about me say? What is the worst thing that could really happen? If I had a friend that had this thought, what would I tell them? Can I be 100% sure that this is true? If the worst really did happen, what could I do to deal with it? And who could help me? And then what is the best possible outcome? Now, knowing those things, I would like for us to talk about choices now. And then we're going to try to apply some of this. So in the area of choices, we have a choice that we can choose to change or modify the way that we look at something, or we can keep it the same. And I think that this is a really a good activity to do, especially if you identify an unhelpful thought. You can ask yourself, what if I choose to view the situation another way? So I'm going to say an example of an unhelpful thought. And I would like for you guys in the question box, and I might not be able to read them all because we might not have enough time for tonight's program if I do, but we're going to go through some of these questions. So I'm going to say an unhelpful thought. Things with COVID are not going to ever get better. It's kind of a yucky thought, right? So I'm going to ask you, what if I choose to view this situation another way? So what is a different way that I could look at that thought? Things with COVID are not going to get better. And by the way, that's not a thought that I have. It's just a thought that we're using as an example. So we have some people that look like they're writing. Okay. So an example would be that right now, this period of time of COVID is difficult. But I've seen that there's been improvements. You know, we're in kind of that new variant. We've seen that, there's a rise and then there'll be a decrease in cases. Or that this is a challenging time, but I know that it won't always be this way. Rhonda has said COVID has helped me with learning through Zoom and webinars. That's a really good positive. And Becky says testing is over the counter, so now I can hang out with my friends. And so is it helpful to believe that things with COVID are not going to get better at all? Or is it helpful to believe that some of the things that you've learned during this time have been helpful and that you've grown some throughout it? Because that's kind of what I'm getting from what people have said. And so if you're able to choose to look at something a different way, and I'm not making COVID okay, and I'm not making it easy because this has been a hard thing for us. But if we are able to look at it differently, this might, is it helpful to, hold on to the unhelpful thought or to hold on to the helpful thought? And then how does that change your behavior? If you don't change the thought that I said about COVID not getting better, then what could happen is that probably a lot of anxiety and sadness and fear could happen. But if you choose to focus on the things that you're learning and that the things that you've grown through this period of time, then you're starting to look at it as being more adaptable and that you're resilient. And does a choice to look at a statement move you closer or further away from how you want to feel? Now, I can tell you for myself personally, and probably for a lot of the clients that I work with, that they want to feel more secure during this period of time, less anxious, and even sometimes less negative. And we can't guarantee things in life, right? And right now, I think that people with MS, we have been dealing with a lot of uncertainty sometimes with our own disease. And so in so many ways, you have practice in terms of how you manage this period of time with COVID. But the point of this activity is, and I just want to really hone in on this, is that you could view, not specifically about COVID if you want to move from a different topic, but you truly can choose to view something in a different light. And that may help you feel different, and it may shape some of your behaviors as well. So think about those choices, and I hope that you will catch this again on the YouTube channel. Write these things down because they're very powerful questions to ask yourself. So we're going to move on to managing stress. Okay, so we know that stress and MS are not really good friends, are they? At least I know, because if my stress goes up, my symptoms go up. And I know this professionally from working with people too, is that stress is not good for the body in general. It's not good for disease, and it's definitely not good for MS. So I wanted to just kind of take some time and talk about the stress cycle, and then also talk about what we can do to manage stress. And then I'm going to ask you guys a little bit about what you do as well. So I like to share that there's a difference between stress and the stressor. So the stressor is the thing that comes into your life that causes stress. So a stressor could be, for example, I had a girlfriend that I had hung out with, and her son, 2 days later, had COVID. That was a stressor. I was worried about him, of course, but I also had just spent time with her. And so that created a little bit of stress. Or a stressor can be going to the grocery store right now and not getting milk, and you're looking everywhere for it, and you've needed it for something. So what happens is the stressors are the things that come and go into your life. I ended up not having COVID, and I did meet with my friend, but I ended up not being exposed to it, which was great. And her son is doing so much better, so that's great. And I was able to find milk. That goes away. But the stressors come in, and what happens is that the stress is the physical changes, how your body holds on to the experience. So the stressor comes and goes, but the stress really is what stays there. It's the physical changes that you experience. It may be that you don't sleep as well. It may be that you become more irritable, etc. So the concept here is that throughout our day, probably every single day, we have stressors that come and go, right? And what happens is the stressor comes in, our body has a little bit, reacts to it with holding stress, and then the stressor goes away. And we have to find ways to manage that stress that we hold in our bodies every day. Now, sometimes we have periods of time where we have a lot of stress. And that can be difficult, but I'm talking about just the everyday stressors that we have. So we want to learn how to close out our stress cycle, because you are human and you have a stress cycle that starts, because when you have a stressor, you're going to have some stress with it. And so what I would like for us to do is to kind of think about, what are some ways that we can, that you guys take care of yourselves to manage stress. And then, of course, I'm going to share some resources that I know as well. So for completing the stress cycle, some people journal. That's a really good way to get out kind of emotions, feelings, your experiences of the day. Some people exercise. Exercise is a really great way to deal with stress, because stress is a physical thing that your body holds. It's really good sometimes to be able to do a physical thing to help get rid of that. For some people, it might be talking with a friend. It might be laughing. It might be walking, going in nature. It might be yoga. It might be meditation. Learning to calm your mind at the end of the day, and learning to fully separate and let go of things that you've been holding on to. You might find an activity that gives you a sense of flow, and because you have that sense of flow, you've been able to kind of work through and let go of some of the stress that your body was holding on to. We have someone, that medications can be helpful for stress, absolutely. And what we need to do is to find ways that individually that we can take care of our stress. And self-care looks very different for each of us individually, but it's exploring what we need to do to take care of ourselves. Now, there is good stress and there is bad stress. And good stress, can we don't want to have too much of that either, because it's overload on the body. But really, bad stress is not helpful for MS. Terry said that cooking is helpful. Deborah said saying no to things that you don't want to do, and that was a part of my my daily reading today, saying no, and that's a really good tip. And so we have some people here that that have some ways that they manage stress. But I want for you to think about for yourself, what can you do to help kind of close out your stress cycle daily? What is something that you can do to take care of yourself? And I'm going to talk about these 4 questions. This is a check-in, I think, that is really important to do. So daily, I would like for you to consider asking yourself these questions. And I've used this slide on some other programs that I've done because I believe in this slide so much. I believe in these 4 questions. So the first question you're asking yourself essentially, how am I feeling today? Physically, mentally, emotionally, really checking in. And with no judgment, you're just checking in to see how you're doing. Then what do I need today? So answering that, what is something that you need today? What is one way that I can show myself compassion? And what is one small thing that I can do today to take care of myself? These questions might be enough to help close out your stress cycle. And they're important questions because only you hold the answers to them, and only you can hold the ability to give yourself self-compassion or the ability to do something to take care of yourself. So I encourage you every day to ask yourself these 4 questions because they serve as an incredible guide to get to know yourself. So the last tool I'm going to share is a progressive relaxation. And I've got to find my script here. Okay. So progressive relaxation is an exercise that you where you tense up body muscles and then you release them. And what happens is by tensing them up and then releasing, you're giving your body a sense of relaxation. And so we're going to do a progressive relaxation exercise. I've done other breathing exercises in other videos, but I really like progressive relaxation. And so my hope is that you're sitting down and you're in a comfortable position. And if you're comfortable, I want you to shut your eyes. And if you're uncomfortable with doing that, you don't have to, but it is nice when you can. And I want you to begin by taking a deep breath and noticing the feeling of air filling your lungs. And I want you to hold your breath for just a second and release the breath slowly and let the tension leave your body. Take in another deep breath and hold it. Again, slowly release the air. Even slower now, take another breath. Fill your lungs and hold the air. Slowly release the breath and imagine the feeling of tension leaving your body. Now move your attention to your feet. Begin to tense your feet by curling your toes and the arch of your foot if you can. Hold on to the tension and notice what it feels like. Now release the tension in your foot. Notice the new feeling of relaxation. Next, begin to focus on your lower leg. Tense the muscles in your calf. Hold them tightly and pay attention to the feeling of tension. Release the tension from your lower legs. Again, notice the feeling of relaxation. Remember to continue to take deep breaths. Next, tense the muscles of your upper leg and pelvis. You can do this by tightly squeezing your thighs together. Make sure you feel tenseness without going to the point of strain. and release. Feel the tension leave your muscles. Begin to tense your stomach and chest. You can do this by sucking your stomach in. Squeeze harder and hold the tension a bit longer. Release the tension. Allow your body to go limp. Let yourself notice the feeling of relaxation. Continue to take deep breaths. Breathe in slowly, noticing the air fill your lungs, and hold it. Release the air slowly. Feel it leaving your lungs. Next, tense the muscles in your back by bringing your shoulders together behind you. Hold them tightly. Tense them as hard as you can without straining, and keep holding. Now release the tension from your back. Feel the tension slowly leaving your body and the new feeling of relaxation. Notice how your body feels different when you allow it to relax. Tense your arms all the way from your hands to your shoulders. Make a fist and squeeze all the way up your arm and hold it. Release the tension from your arms and shoulders. Notice the feeling of relaxation in your fingertips, in your hands, your arms, and your shoulders. Notice how your arms feel limp and at ease. Move up to your neck and your head. Tense your face and your neck by distorting the muscles around your eyes and mouth. Release the tension. Again, notice the feeling of relaxation. Finally, tense your entire body. Tense your feet, your legs, your stomach, your chest, your arms, your head and neck. Tense harder without straining, and hold the tension. Now release. Allow your whole body to go limp. Pay attention to the feelings of relaxation and how different it is from the feelings of tension. Now begin to wake your body up by slowly moving your muscles. Adjust your arms and your legs. And stretch your muscles and open your eyes when you're ready. That was an example of progressive relaxation. We are going to go through the next two slides, and I will ask that this will be on the YouTube channel, and you'll be able to pause it. But these are some resources that would be good if you're looking at needing resources for meditation or breath work or for yoga. I know MS Views and News has some really good yoga programs as well as Pilates. So you can access that there, but this is some virtual stuff that you can access as well. And there's also some podcasts that I recommend. Now, our next MS wellness chat or mental wellness chat is going to be on building better mental health. So we're going to continue to expand the mental health topic, psychological resilience, but we're going to learn about boundary setting and that saying no. I'm going to focus a lot on saying no and how to set boundaries. We're going to continue to look at coping and how to handle changes as well as how to embrace modifications. And then we are also going to talk a little bit about transitions in life, some related to COVID, some just about general transitions. I'm going to take one more peek real quick to see if there's any questions I can answer that are on here. Okay, so I had someone say something about, do you need to consider reality? I think we always need to consider reality when we are dealing with challenges. We always need to consider reality, even when we're looking at how we are my guess is this was probably about the unhelpful thoughts. And that's why I said reality kind of stays here beside us. You know, that we can't make reality go away, but we can definitely change the way that we look at some of the unhelpful thoughts. And for each of us individually, that might look a little bit different. But I just wanted to make sure I acknowledged that comment because reality is important to consider. There's someone that wants to learn about LSD-related drugs like ketamine and research on this. I am not your person for that. I'm going to actually really ask you to speak with your MS specialist about that. But I am so sorry, I have no information on it, and I'm not discounting your question. That's why I brought it up. I just wanted you to know that I am not the right person to answer because I don't know that much about it. So today's mental wellness chat is almost over, and I want to applaud you because you guys have been rock stars of attendees and very helpful with one another. I think that this group has been amazing to connect with one another and to find ways to share. And I hope that you're leaving today feeling like you have at least a reinforcement of some tools, that you maybe learned some new tools, or you heard something that someone else said that made you think, oh, that's kind of interesting, or maybe I should try that. So again, I want to thank all of our sponsors for tonight's program, and then also very much thanking MS Views and News, because without them, we would not have this MS Mental Wellness Chat. So again, I am going to say it's not goodbye, it's when I'll see you again. I hope to see you next month at our next MS Mental Wellness Chat. Thank you to our new people for coming. Thank you for our people that have been continuing to attend, and I wish you well. Bye.